But despite all these enormous challenges, there are still some amazing lawyers, like Travis Williams. He frames every acquittal and puts it on his wall. But guess where he puts his losses?
I'm gonna get the last name of every case I've lost tattooed on my back. Right now it's only 5, and hopefully I won't fail my back up. That's the goal. But since the wind's going on the wall, I decided the losses have to go somewhere, and they're going on my back, because they're gonna be with me forever.
He tattoos the names of the cases he's lost on his back. That is a truly heroic lawyer. He's like Atticus Finch, only real and not, as it turns out, a horrible racist. Screw you, Finchy, go fuck a mockingbird. And there are plenty of recent real-life examples of discrimination happening. Just look at Colin Dewberry and Kelly Williams, a Texas couple who made the mistake of visiting a restaurant called Big Earl's, where their waitress had something to say to them.
She said that we don't serve, can I say, fags here. We don't serve fags here.
Then the waitress continued, they say.
Here at Big Earl's, we like for men to act like men and for ladies to act like ladies. And it was just so nonchalantly. Like almost like she was reading a piece of paper.
Well, she was. That phrase is posted on the front door of the restaurant.
She's a young lady, didn't know what else to say. And they just kept on. She finally said, and she said, we just don't like fags.
OK, that is obviously appalling. And also, someone might want to tell Big Earl that having a sign saying, where men act like men, is actually the single gayest thing imaginable. The IRS regulations are close to meaningless. According to their tax codes, not only is the term church not specifically defined, they make no attempts to evaluate whether the content of a doctrine is religious, provided the beliefs are truly held and are not illegal. But truly held beliefs that are not illegal is almost every belief. Bros before hoes? That could be a religion. Red vines are better than Twizzlers? That could be a religion. If you believe the best movie ever made is Lady in the Water, then your name is M. Night Shyamalan, but congratulations, Mr. Shyamalan, that belief could be a religion. And the sad thing is, sex ed, when done well, can do so much good, but when it's done badly, it can do real harm. Take consent. A recent survey found college students were confused about certain aspects of it. For instance, when asked whether another person undressing, getting a condom or nodding established consent for more sexual activity, at least 40% said yes and at least 40% said no. And that ambiguity is a problem because sex is like boxing. If both people didn't fully agree to participate, one of them is committing a crime. And if you don't show up for your trial, bail bondsmen routinely hire bounty hunters to track you down, and they have a frightening amount of power.
In all but 4 states, the companies are legally allowed to take almost any measure necessary to capture a client, including crossing state lines and breaking into homes. It's a dangerous business for everyone involved, with few rules and little oversight.
Well, they're not kidding. In 18 states, anyone can become a bounty hunter regardless of education, training, or prior criminal history. Becoming a bounty hunter is basically a lot like becoming a social media expert. All it takes is one to get bad enough and not caring about whether strangers hate you or not. And the problem is, as fast as farmers try to pay down their debts, companies can pile more on by demanding that they make expensive upgrades.
The companies on a regular basis come around and say, well, you have to do this upgrade or that upgrade, and if you don't, you're not going to get chickens anymore.
We got to have this, you got to have that, you got to have this, you know. It started out first, it was nipple drinkers, and then it went to tunnel houses, and then it went to blackout curtains on the south side, and all this more stuff ended up costing more than our original buildings.
And that must be frustrating. Farming chickens is like hooking up with James Franco. Look, James, first you wanted us to try nipple drinkers, which was weird, but I put up with it. Then it was the tunnel house, which was even worse. And now you want us to try blackout curtains? No, James, no. I'm out. We're done, James. We're done. So, if you think about it, that bill obviously passed, and a 2012 survey found few work sites reported negative effects of complying with the law. So we thought the bill would kill us, but instead we just got used to having it around, like an irregular mole or a new stepdad. I don't know why I was so afraid of you, Gene. You were fine. Now, No Child Left Behind increased the number of federally mandated tests from 6 to 17. And the fixation on testing was something which our current president seemed to be against as he ran for office.
Don't tell us that the only way to teach a child is to spend too much of a year preparing him to fill out a few bubbles in a standardized test. We know that's not true.
Wow. That man knew how to pander to teachers. And you know what else? There should be pool tables in the teachers' lounge. And every year you should be able to slap one parent. Vote for me. I'm out of here. I'm out of here. Vote for me. But once this president took office, he didn't get rid of tests. Instead, he added his own education initiatives like Race to the Top, which encouraged states to adopt the Common Core, which featured a logo of snails 69ing. And buying clothes is cheaper and easier than ever. And not just at fast fashion companies. Traditional retailers have lowered their prices as well, which means the only way brands make money is through volume. And that's why even basics like jeans now go through fashion cycles with the lifespan of mayflies.
Obviously, the big trend is skinny jeans.
So for spring, forget about the skinny jean. Now it's all about the flare jean.
Boyfriend jeans are the big thing for spring.
Jonah is wearing the it jean of the season, and that is the baggy jean. She's marrying these two trends that have been so controversial, the culotte and the denim. We got a denim culotte.
Denim culottes. Finally, an answer to the question, what if an 18th century cabin boy was also Canadian? Patent trolls have this process down to such a science. For a start, they have figured out a way to almost never go to trial. One study found that almost 90% of cases are settled for a very practical reason.
It's an extortion game because it costs between $2 and $5 million to defend a patent suit. So the patent troll says, we'll settle for $100,000.
Many decide to pay out settlements because it's cheaper than fighting the lawsuits.
So they work out the maximum amount of money you'd be willing to pay rather than go to court and negotiate for that. They pick a number the same way airlines pick a cabin temperature. Perfectly calibrated to make you miserable, but not so much that you'd actually do anything about it. And Julian Assange is not a likeable man. Even Benedict Cumberbatch could not make him likeable. He's uncumberbatchable. That was supposed to be physically impossible. But I don't blame people for being confused. We've been looking at this story for the last 2 weeks, and it is hard to get your head around. Not just because there are so many complicated programs to keep track of, but also because there are no easy answers here. We all naturally want perfect privacy and perfect safety. But those two things cannot coexist. It's like how you can't have a badass pet falcon and an adorable pet vole named Herbert. Either you have to lose one of them, which obviously you don't want to do, or you have to accept some reasonable restrictions on both of them. And the problem is, in these situations, the poor get hurt the worst. In many states, failure to pay a fine on time can even result in having your driving licence suspended. In fact, this is such a common practice that in Orange County, Florida, they even made an event out of it.
The Grinch himself showed up in Orange County with a bag full of licenses belonging to drivers who've been more naughty than nice.
We're sending the message that if you're going to come out here and you're going to drive in a manner that affects somebody else's life or safety, that we're going to impact your life.
Okay. First of all, you do know the Grinch is the bad guy in that story, right? It's not about a brave green crime fighter who saves Whoville from a guy driving his sleigh 10 miles over the speed limit. Listen to current NFL player Richard Sherman reminisce about his college days.
You wake up in the morning, you have weights at this time. Then after weights, you go to class. And after class, you go maybe try to grab you a quick bite to eat. Then after you get your quick bite to eat, you go straight to meetings. And after meetings, you got practice. And after practice, you got to try to get all the work done you had throughout the day. I would love for a regular student to have a student-athlete schedule during the season for just one quarter or one semester and show me how you balance that.
He's right. Paying top college athletes with an education is sort of like telling a full-time nurse, there's no salary for this job, we're just going to be giving you free trumpet lessons, which you'll be too busy to do, but if you don't learn to play the trumpet, you're fired. Does that sound fair? I think that sounds fair. Doesn't mean that they don't. Guam holds a straw poll every presidential election, and their registered voter turnout is actually higher than that of the rest of America. And to misquote the words of the great philosopher Lil Jon, turn out for what? That's a great song. But just imagine how it must feel to have the desire to vote, but know deep down you're going to be ignored. Actually, you don't have to imagine it, because let this Guam voter tell you.
It's terrible. I mean, I believe it's not fair, you know. We're all citizens of the United States. I wish somebody changed that.
OK, that sounds sad, but at least on election day, that woman gets to wear the incredibly special "I voted and wish it had actually counted" sticker. The scale of this problem is scary, as the former Secretary of Transportation points out.
According to the government, there's 70,000 bridges that have been deemed structurally deficient.
Yep.
What does that mean?
It means that they're bridges that need to be really either replaced or repaired in a very dramatic way.
They're dangerous.
I don't want to say they're unsafe, but they're dangerous.
What? Hold on. When we're at a point where the Secretary of Transportation is struggling to decide between using the word unsafe and the word dangerous, we might have a problem worth fixing. The danger is, though, if ads like those get inside judges' heads and make them rule more harshly to protect themselves in the future. And the problem is, that does happen.
There are some academic studies that have suggested that judges do change their behavior. So, for example, in election years, if you look at judges' sentencing decisions, judges tend to be harder on crime.
That's terrifying, because you shouldn't be sitting in a prison going, how did you get 15 months for public urination? Well, you know, it was October in an election year. I should have known what I was getting into. And it's not like appointing judges is the perfect system. We can all name one that we don't like, and it's usually Antonin Scalia. No. Or, in his more palatable form, a bulldog dressed as Antonin Scalia. But here's the thing. Please let this video by the people responsible for the campaign explain it to you.
As a brand, Marlboro was not resonating with adult smokers, even though its values of freedom, authenticity, and master of destiny were. Smokers missed the essence of the cowboy, which led us to our opportunity. Eliminate the word maybe from our smokers' vocabulary to become the catalyst that inspires smokers from just thinking about life to taking the lead in their life. To live the Marlboro values. To be true, bold, and forever forward.
That is a pile of horse shit. Think about it. Just think about this. Even Don Draper looks at that ad and goes, pull it back a little bit. These are cigarettes we're talking about, not Jesus. Now, with this level of pressure, unsurprisingly, drug companies have in the past crossed the line, pushing doctors to prescribe pills for non-FDA-approved uses. That's called going off-label. And here is a horrifying example involving AstraZeneca, who the government charged with going off-label with Seroquel, an antipsychotic with dangerous side effects.
The allegations, which were very troubling, were that they were taking a drug that was really approved for fairly narrow uses, bipolar disorders and schizophrenia, and marketing it for everything from sleeplessness to depression and dementia.
Here's the thing. You can't just give people potentially dangerous drugs and see what happens. You're a Fortune 500 company, not a white guy with dreadlocks at Burning Man. Now, and the thing is, watching all that food go from farm to not a table is awful for a bunch of reasons. First, and most obviously, there are many people in this country who need that food. In 2013, nearly 50 million Americans lived in food-insecure households, meaning that at some point in the year, they struggle to put enough food on the table. And the fact that we throw away a third of our food gets pretty alarming when you hear from some of those people.
It's hard. I'll go without food before my kids will. Budget is down to the penny, and it's just not enough still.
It brings you to tears.
Yeah.
Why?
It's just hard. They're so young, and it's hard.
It is crazy that that is happening in a country with 730 football stadiums full of uneaten food. It's insane. In fact, Chargers fans are currently so terrified their team might leave. Not only are they campaigning to spend public money on a stadium, they're doing it in one of the worst rap songs of all time.
Die-hard fans almost went on a rampage. I tell no lies, I hope you understand why I got the best, one of the best fans. The other teams are hating on them. They deserve a brand new stadium. San Diego, the finest city. San Diego, the second largest city. Save our votes, save our committee. San Diego making money, so put it back in our city.
Wait, go back. Did he say second largest city? That is a strange boast for a rap song. Yo, I got the second hottest car because I'm the second most paid. When I go to the club, I get the second most laid. Second most. I'm up there. I'm number 2, yo. Number 2. The whole idea of a driver's license photo is to present how you look from day to day. That's why DMV employees tell you not to smile, because they can't imagine anyone whose normal existence involves happiness in any form. And even in organisations that have seemed willing to change, that change has come frustratingly slowly. Take the military. Both the Secretary of Defence and President Obama have indicated they are open to transgender troops being able to serve. And yet, they're still banned from enlisting because of weirdly archaic restrictions on things like defects of the genitalia, such as change of sex, and psychosexual conditions, including but not limited to transsexualism and transvestism. Our current recruitment poster is essentially, I want you, maybe, after we talk about your genitals for a bit. I know that's weird, but for the moment, this is apparently how we do things.
And the actual thoughts were, this is my life. This is never going to end, so I need to end my life. Because I could not live like that. So after I found the profile, I attempted suicide.
Now, you would assume that it's illegal to do that to someone. The problem is, there is no federal law specifically against revenge porn. And in Maryland, where she lived, revenge porn was not illegal at the time. In fact, only 23 states have passed laws specifically against revenge porn. In the other 27, it's one of those things that should be explicitly illegal, but isn't. Like using a golf umbrella in Manhattan, or returning from a semester abroad in Spain and insisting on calling it Barcelona. You are the worst. The worst. And look, you may think, as 57% of you evidently do, that at least those tough techniques provided us with reliable intelligence. Well, not so much.
The report's most damning conclusion is that the tactics were ineffective, despite the CIA's claim that 20 detainees subjected to them shared crucial information, some of which led to Osama bin Laden.
Our staff reviewed every one of the 20 cases, and not a single case holds up.
Yeah, torture is one of those things that is advertised as something that works, but doesn't. Like a Ford truck, or those weird bottles of horny goat weed available at your local bodega. But
at a growing number of businesses, including Mike's Bikes in San Rafael, pennies have fallen from favor. Now at Mike's, every cash transaction rounds down to the nearest nickel in a customer's favor. Their reaction has been overwhelmingly underwhelming.
Whatever is easier, I don't care. Am I helping?
I'm pretty sure we just found the man who gives the least amount of shits in American history. Someone out there needs to meme this beautiful man and do it now. In fact, as far as I can tell, there are only 2 things pennies are genuinely good for. One, you can throw a penny in a fountain to make a wish. But at its current value, no fountain is granting you a wish unless it's incredibly small, like, I wish somewhere in the world a mouse has a good day. Or, I wish I knew what a penny looked like underwater. And just this week, there was another development.
Big trouble for those daily fantasy sports sites FanDuel and DraftKings. New York's Attorney General says they amount to illegal gambling.
Yes, the New York Attorney General is attempting to shut down daily fantasy in the state. And if that happens, the best way to gamble here will once again be buying meat on a stick from a guy with a cart. Why does my chicken have whiskers? Do you know what? I'm hungry, I'm rolling the dice. But both major daily fantasy sites insist that they've done nothing wrong. In fact, DraftKings even claims on its website that it's 100% legal, which is immediately suspicious. If the guy at TCBY said this frozen yogurt is 100% legal, you would know that somehow it was a product of the illegal sex trade. And look, restricted access to food and shelter could be just the beginning of your problems. Depending on where you live, a felony conviction can cut you off from everything from voting to a driver's license to, and this is true, one Florida county's home weatherization program. So I guess Florida is perfectly happy to put people behind bars, but they draw the line at putting them behind storm windows and insulation. And while you could pay for food, shelter and weatherization with a job, your opportunities to get one of those might be severely limited. There are state and local bans preventing ex-felons from working as everything from a nurse to a septic tank cleaner to, in Mississippi, an alligator rancher. As if breaking into the alligator ranching business wasn't already hard enough as it is. You know, it's all who you know who's been eaten by an alligator in that game. Basically, for relatively little of their own money, states could cover all their poorest citizens. It was an exceptionally favourable deal. But guess what many states chose to do?
Texas will not be participating in Medicaid expansion.
They're working hard to change the American dream into the European nightmare.
This system we call Obamacare that we now see is going to be a train wreck, and I do not want the name of Mississippi emblazoned across that train when it leaves the tracks.
Would you consider expanding a broken system? Of course not. Of course not. It's like a drug dealer. You give them your first hit free, and then they're hooked for years and years.
Yeah. Except, in this instance, that drug addict has cancer, the drug being pushed is chemo, and the corner boys have 7 years of fucking med school. And Trudeau's opponents have used his lightweight reputation against him by running ads like these.
Is Justin ready?
Justin thinks budgets balance themselves.
But Justin hasn't thought that through.
Justin doesn't understand the consequences.
Justin, he's just not ready.
Now, repeatedly calling him Justin is actually very clever, because the more you say that name, the less ready for office he sounds. The name Justin doesn't convey leadership so much as it conveys an unwillingness to sit still at the paediatrician's office or ownership of a system of a down tattoo halfway through a painful laser removal process. Those are the two types of Justin that exist, and just those two. But remember, that was a fatal accident, and one of the workers who died was a 21-year-old named Brendan Wegner. And for those who worked alongside him, their lives were never the same.
Jebediah Stanfill was working on a nearby rig and rushed over.
And I go out there and ask him where everybody's at and how many are there, and he just says, "Dirt man's dead, the dirt man's dead." That's when I looked up and I saw what I've later found out is Brendan burning in the dirt.
One other worker died. Another lost his legs and later committed suicide. It was the deadliest accident in the Bakken in the last decade.
Now, I know you're sad at this point, but brace yourself, because you're about to get angry. Because after the accident, OSHA visited the worksite and found that it was missing several important safety features, including flame-retardant clothing and a safety slide. And we have not even got into the most depressingly common place that people with mental illnesses can end up.
2 million people with mental illness go to state and local jails every year. That's meant there's now 10 times more people behind bars than in state-funded psychiatric treatment.
That is terrible. Finding out jails are our largest provider of mental health treatment is like finding out Lil Wayne lyrics are our greatest source of sexual education. No, Darren, you can't smack it up, flip it like a spatula. Where did you even learn that? What does it mean, flip it like a spatula? Would you like it if I did that to your mother? No, you wouldn't. You wouldn't, Darren. So don't say it. And even those countries who are offering to take refugees are sometimes making those offers in the most insultingly selective way.
The Slovakians saying that they're only going to give asylum to Christians. They don't want Muslims, migrants coming into the country, Muslim asylum seekers, not least because they haven't got any mosques.
Oh, I'm sorry, Slovakia. You can't take Muslims in because you don't have any mosques. You do know you can build those, right? Mosques don't naturally occur in the wild due to erosion or particularly devout beavers. Muslims can live anywhere that other humans can live. Muslims are not like dolphins trying to resettle in Scottsdale, Arizona.